A pleasure to me all at last, and welcome back to some more Survival of No Limits. And, yeah, there's going to be new subjects coming around. As a matter of fact, I got one right here that I might as well get to right away. Number 65 in the series. Wow. I've gotten pretty far already. Hypothermia is basically where I'm going to be at for right now. So, let's just get into it. Hypothermia. Yeah. I guess there's not really much else for me to say other than the fact that, well, it is in fact a thing. Hypothermia, the opposite of hyperthermia, is in fact a condition to where your body temperature drops way too low. On average, somebody could probably live even when their body temperature is at 85 degrees Fahrenheit, not Celsius. But this is in fact the limit to where your cardiovascular system supposedly goes into before it could shut down due to blood circulating too slowly. And this is probably one of the main reasons why supposedly the optimal body temperature would have to be at 98.6 degrees, which honestly, that sits way too close to the fever zone. Either move the fever zone upward, because apparently if it is healthy to have your body temperature sit 1.4 degrees below the spot that is considered a fever, well, I don't know why I seem to want to bring that kind of part up. But the thing is, when it comes to my own core body temperature compared to many, mine is known to fluctuate between 91.2 degrees all the way up to 99.4 degrees. And this is without a doubt a pretty strange case of circulatory function amongst any means. But of course, if you're very familiar with my content, then check out my Twitter and Instagram, because I have in fact done, well, body temperature checks myself on the body of all places. And this was basically accomplished by the usage of one of those no-touch sensor-based thermometers that have in fact become more well-known because of what the pandemic has been doing lately. Thermometers, masks, and at least several other things are hot selling at this point. Considering what we're going through and what we're probably going to be going through for the next 10 years or so, it's still likely that the pandemic will have to come to an end at some point. But if there is going to be a time where we're going to have to go through another thing like this, then well, that's probably just all that. If we get through the rest of this entire year in one piece, which I'm almost certain that we might not, then well, there's a good chance we might have ourselves something to always remember till the end of time. But back to hypothermia. There's always a time where you could probably be out there in the wilderness and you might have all the clothes that you need. But then of course there comes that one little time where it doesn't feel like that you are getting warm by any means. And that's certainly because when the cold hits you hard enough, then you always have a likelihood of getting your body temperature to go downwards. And that's certainly because, well, naturally, when the cold hits you, then it creates the outside parts of the body, and they start to freeze up, but then eventually the cold works its way down to the bone. Yeah, as strange as that sounds, as scary as that sounds, it's all true. There's been so many cases out there involving people actually freezing to death. And there are tons of cases as well that also relate to people suffering from extreme hypothermia, somehow surviving, but having to pretty much have a lot of things removed from them permanently. There was, of course, this one story where a teacher had actually gotten up to, well, a porch at one point and then ended up collapsing. Due to extreme hypothermia, there was a good chance that, well, death would have come by. But only if it weren't for the teacher who had people come by and find the body on the porch, completely unable to move. Extreme cold and numbness are indeed common, especially if you end up falling into, well, thin ice in the water below it. That could probably be something else I'll have to at least talk about soon enough, but until then, well, I guess we're just sticking up to here. Well, anyways, this teacher had survived extreme hypothermia, but had every single finger and toe pretty much sliced off. And this is certainly because whenever you have extreme hypothermia, there's always a good chance that frostbites will occur in certain parts of the body. I will never forget the fact that at one point I've had frostbite on my wrists twice. I could feel extreme redness developing, slight purpleness, almost like really nasty bruises. But yet, as you can see, I fully healed from all that. My vessels were able to perfectly repair themselves, no problem. So, could be I might be immune to frostbite. And it also could be that somehow my body is able to perfectly function even while the coldest of times are around. Of course, you probably remember, especially in the Menominee Falls area, in early 2019, we had that one super duper cold time develop. By the end of the month of January 2019, we basically had just that. And that was simply, without a doubt, some rather nasty stuff that had taken place. Negative 55 degrees it was outside. No joke. So, by this point in time, I don't really know if I'm actually ludicrous, but if I am, then well, I guess you probably have me to thank for that. But, anyways, when the cold does start to set in this year, 2021, let's just hope, for once, that we don't have to have ourselves one last gigantic suffering before the end of the worst year ever begins to take place. Let's just hope that that does not ever happen. We need to have some sort of peace. Even if the worst year ever does somehow improve in and upon itself, I see no reason to not continue talking about how bad it is. Because the damage has already been done. Hundreds of times. Well, anyways, I hope that you enjoyed this episode, and I'm also going to have more episodes in the works. But until then be sure to stick around for some other content I'll have in the works. And if you want to see more, go down on my channel. Then make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.